I would just say that,
Okay.
so that later where.
Which one is that?
So, just a suggestion. If we're gonna have the stand in front of me and scream at me again, are we
This
gonna?
one and this
What's
one.
going on?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not sure.
It seems more productive.
You want to pull that
to
one?
have like
No.
a town hall.
We had discussion there with them. They were afraid that
Okay.
and they can't, so they want to have a workshop on this.
Okay.
And wait until the next administration. So they went
You ever
with
notice
Zoom,
your
and I
phone
said
will
that
connect
we're
to
gonna
stuff
have
here
people
better?
speaking here. If we're gonna pull them anyways, we need to make it
I hate this thing. It will not
people
progress.
speaking and wasting.
Woodland dots. See if I can get in there.
Good times.
Are you ready, Mrs.? Okay, sorry.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. It is 7:01. It is Monday, December 18th, 2023. Please ensure your cell phones are silenced and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Hogan, please take the roll.
Councilmember Rounds,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Holland, Councilmember Burke, Councilmember Dowdy,
Here.
Councilmember Hall,
Here.
Councilmember Frymark.
Here. All right, all are here and accounted for. Please ensure your microphones are on, and when speaking, make sure you get a little close there so folks at home that are watching can hear, and those in the audience and gallery can hear as well. Before we get started this evening with citizen comments, I want everyone in the room to be aware, because I'm sure that some of these want to be talked about. Consent item C, action item F, and action item I, I've asked to have pulled after discussion with council. Some of those need to be held over for the next administration before, I don't want to handcuff the next administration with decisions, so those discussions, the new body and the new mayor. So I've asked council to pull those, so if you're here to discuss those this evening, just be aware that I believe that, of course, I can't pull them myself, but I'm confident that those are going to be pulled and held over until next year. And with that, moving on to action items, oh, I'm sorry, citizen, what's that?
Which ones?
Oh, sorry, consent C, action item F, and action item I.
Okay.
And with that, citizen comments for items not on the agenda. First up, we have Ms. Meg Frymark. Good evening.
Hello, Merry Christmas, Happy
Merry Christmas.
Holidays. I'd like to talk about something very, very important, and that's the upcoming legislative session that's going to start on January 8th. My community, Woodland East, is very involved in this legislative push because this year, again, we're fighting for rent stabilization and fighting very hard to stop the rising gouging rent increases by landlords. This year, the Senate and the House are going to join together on one bill to put before the session and talking about nothing more than 5% a raise a year in rents. Although the push really is for 10%, we're trying to get it for 5%, which will be a help. Just to let you know that this year our Christmas present, Woodland East, was a $200 rent increase from the Werners. We are a 55-plus community. seniors living on a fixed income, $200 is outrageous. We already have experienced unfair evictions in our park. And just recently, if you've seen the Columbian newspaper, the Warners were told to pay $1 million for unlawful evictions. It also mentioned in this article our Woodland East community of senior citizens who are being displaced because they cannot afford the hike in rents. We're not asking for the impossible, but we're asking for our local administration, our city councilmen, our neighbors to help us push and talk to our legislators about how important it is to help us so we could stay in our forever homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Frymark, I would encourage you to reach out to the new administration and to make sure that that discussion is had for City Action Days, which usually happens in February.
Okay.
This body will be setting a legislative agenda at some point, so I'd encourage you to have that discussion with him and his staff.
Thank you. I did reach out to Mr. Deinhardt, and after the holidays, I'd like to sit down with him and talk about how our local leadership can get involved and maybe something, I don't know, put some ordinances in place that can stop something like this. It's a real shame that senior citizens have put money into this city to make it grow, are now being forced out of their homes because of unfair rent raises. Thank
I
you.
agree. Thank you. Randy? Yes. And how do you say your last name?
Abrams.
Abrams. Thank you. Good evening.
Hi. I want to start with a little meme that I read recently. It said, "Yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I'm reminded that Google Maps is not always right."
True.
So this is about fact checking. An incident that happened a few meetings ago really drove home the point that you need to do quality fact checking. When we were talking about zoning for 20 after 4, the cannabis dispensary, Terry mentioned that you could get delivery to your home, which a gentleman in the audience said, "Liar, liar." Well, although what Terry said was totally inaccurate, lie involves intent, and I don't think Terry had any intent to provide any false information at all. So Terry had said you can get delivery of cannabis right to your home. And I asked him about that, and he just, it's on the internet. Well, I know what Terry saw when he searched. He saw a bunch of things that said weed delivery in Washington State, all this stuff. That's not fact checking. If you click on any of those and tried to get it delivered to Woodland, no one does. Nobody delivers. In fact, nobody delivers anywhere in the state of Washington. If you try to check with various dispensaries, in states where there's delivery, that's pretty well advertised. In states where it isn't, you're not going to see it. And so, let me hand you this. On page 3, you'll see why it is there's no home delivery. Thank you.
Did you pass one of these to Mrs. Hogan for the record? Or I can give her mine. Oh, you did. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And perhaps while I'm doing this, you can read page 3 out
3.
loud.
Thank you.
Which part?
Page 3. That part.
Oh, this part. Okay. Recently, Thurston County Superior Court Judge Indu Thomas affirmed that a Washington State retail cannabis license violated state law by offering delivery service for cannabis. The court found that by subscribing to delivery service, the licensee invited the delivery service to come into its stores to violate the law and was responsible for the violation. While the ruling is based on the facts of this case, state law makes it clear that marijuana delivery is prohibited from commercial purposes. Licensed retailer stores that either deliver marijuana themselves or through use of a third-party delivery service is a violation. RCW's NWACs provided. Thank you for your continued uphold laws and the rules. Okay, I'll stop there. The rest of it is just, if you have any questions, contact Liquor and Cannabis Compliance Consultant or Enforcement Education Officer.
Now, if you want to fact check me, which I'd be a hypocrite to say not to, the URL where I got that from is right there. And I'm sure the city attorney would have a lot more expertise than I have.
And I would even go as far to say it looks as if you pulled this from the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board website.
I did.
Okay.
So Terry isn't the only one to make this mistake. All of us have at some point. Some of us learn a bit more. I've worked in cybersecurity for 25 years. I tend to be a bit more acutely aware of it. But especially when you're dealing with things pertaining to the law, and cannabis is a tightly controlled substance, it's essential to fact check, because otherwise you end up saying, well, you can engage in felonies without meaning to say so. So that's the thing. It doesn't matter in terms of whether or not you vote to rezone for the cannabis. What matters is you gotta be sure to check your facts. It's important. Thank you.
And Mr. Hall, just for your reference, Mr. Hall did apologize for making that statement the last meeting, I believe, and corrected his statement. Yeah, and
Okay,
corrected
well,
his statement, just
yeah,
so you're
like
aware.
I said, I don't think he was lying. That involves intent, and so.
Thank you, sir. Gene Shaw. Good evening.
Good evening. I was noticing on your upcoming events, and there was something left off, and I'd like to invite everybody this Thursday. It would be from our mayor-elect, Todd Dinehart, will be sworn in Thursday evening here at 6 o'clock by Judge Basher. And I would like to invite everybody. There will be refreshments afterwards, so it's open to the public. Everybody is invited.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Yeah. I just want to say, Mayor Finn, I'm very sad that you lost the election. I appreciate all you've done for this city past 8 years. You've been very helpful for me getting the pot house removed from next door. You've always listened, and you're very professional, and I appreciate that, and I feel that you really have represented our city well, so.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One more thing. I was very saddened to learn that Bolo is getting fired at the end of the year. I feel that a comfort dog can really be an asset to the city. And it's unfortunate that there wasn't better PR for him. So I'm very sad, and my dog is also unemployed. He used to be a hunting dog, so if you could see, he gets this.
I will make sure that he
present.
receives that, and just for notice, he has not been released from duty yet, but it's assumed. So yes, I will make sure that he receives that. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, and thank you for the comments. Thank you.
Oh, and here for your loss.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you. Ms. Rapp. Good evening.
Good evening. A wise friend once told me, you find out who a person really is when they are put under pressure. I ask, is this the type of person you want to be remembered as, lashing out at community members because they don't want your leadership? I have tried to not attack you personally, as I used to think you were a decent person, but your action and behaviors have shown differently the last few months. I did not say or imply at the November meeting that I wanted the water or sewer rates raised. I said that you legally did not have the ability to do what you did, And I stated that I had listened for 4 years about how important it was to implement the rate structure. I'm embarrassed by your behavior here and in our community, embarrassed that you would also behave that way in front of our county commissioners. Regardless of who wins an election, I find it odd that anyone would want failure for our community.
Thank you. Mr. Belial. Good evening.
Keith Belial, Planners Days President. Planners Days meeting tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. at the VFW. Come join us. We need help. There's like 5 or 6 of us running it, plus a few other people. So if you want to get involved with something, you know, there's lots of groups to be involved with. I'm involved with a few of them. I encourage everybody to get involved and find out about something. Rotary, the museum, Planners Days is a lot of fun. JJ did it forever, you know. So anyway, Planners Days meeting tomorrow. We have our theme for the 102nd Planners Days is All Together Now, inspiring a feeling of togetherness, right? Well, that's what we do for Planners Days, right? And the winner of that, we're going to present their check here, and I'm coordinating with Pete for that. And the art contest has gone out to the schools, so all the kids 5 years old up to 12 years old here in the schools can get a chance to win $50 if their art is selected. And if there's kids in that age group that are not in the schools, they can get a hold of me. I have a lot more forms. We'll make sure everybody gets a chance to participate. And if you want to sponsor Planners Days, we need sponsors. If you want to donate some prizes, we need some prizes. And lots more. Come and see me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belial. Moving on to items on the agenda. Dum Dum?
Sorry, I think I filled out the wrong paper.
You want on the agenda?
No, I want items.
Or not on the agenda?
No.
Sorry. Oh, okay. I will
Sorry.
switch you over, yes.
I was talking to someone else when I signed it up.
Okay, gotcha. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. You did a much better job of saying that than I did, and I will beg to differ on some things about that, but you did great. Thank you. Mr. Finn, if I walked in here right now with a firearm on me, a knife hanging off my pocket, what would happen to me?
That I'm not aware. I know that Washington state law says you're not allowed to open carry within a public meeting.
That's what I'm
anymore.
talking about, open
Those
carry.
laws have changed.
City councilwoman is blatantly open carrying a knife on her pocket.
It's firearms. I'm not
The
sure.
sign outside the door says otherwise.
Okay.
If
I'm not
you
aware.
mind,
I thought it was just firearms.
no, I can go take a picture and show you the.
I'm going to defer to my team over here.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just don't mind looking at the sign that
I thought it was just firearms.
Monty Smith pointed out to me before the meeting.
And that was removed, just so you're aware, that was removed, and we noticed that a week ago. That sign was there, and then it was removed, and now we've replaced it. I'm not sure why. It was
Okay,
gone.
but what would happen to me as a citizen if I walked in here open carrying a weapon?
I'm not sure.
I would
honestly, I'm not sure.
I would expect City Council to hold Deanna Holland to the same accountability that would happen to me.
And-
Exact same. No.
And the chief is not here this evening, so.
No, he's
yeah,
not.
I
I
can
was
defer to him.
going to talk to him too
Yeah.
about some other things. And then on to my
But
next.
we'll look into that, absolutely.
Thank you.
bet.
And I would expect, and I will FOIA request the videos for this building, and just so she can't come back and say that she did not have a pink or purple knife with a 4-inch blade on a locking back on her,
Okay.
hanging right off the front of her pocket.
We will get those rules shored up. For you.
And in response to Deanna, I'm not sure how anyone is supportive of someone in a Halloween mask wandering around the police department filming. That would be literally be a lockdown at a school. Yes, ma'am, you are
Please
100%
direct your
right.
comments towards me, sir.
She is 100% right. Anyone walking around a school, I would expect any one of our schools to be on lockdown if some weirdo came in with a mask. In an open meeting space, it is A-OK, and that is a constitutional right. The reason I put dum-dum on the paperwork tonight is because I don't have to identify who I am. Everyone pretty much everyone in here has.
We changed those rules a number of years ago to remove the addresses and.
Right,
done
and that's
whatever
a
you want.
constitutional thing, and that's awesome. That's great to see. I'm sorry that my stalker freaked out staff and anyone else in the room. So since I did try to put in a FOIA request for these comments that have been screenshot and sent to me, and I'm not sure which way I want to go with being referred to as a stalker. I'm not sure if I'm okay with just a public apology, or if I want to take it farther than that and actually go to litigation over it, because that is huge defamation of character. Her and my main problem is I don't know the gentleman's last name. Machete Mike is what I refer to him as. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Mohawk, walks around town in his underwear swinging a machete.
I don't know him. I
I
haven't seen
haven't,
him.
but she handed him a weapon back while I was doing my community service, which she also had no reason to bring up. But yes, I got in trouble. I did my time. I paid my fines. It wasn't that big of a deal. It's behind me. But she literally handed that man a 2-foot-long machete at the Action Center, and I called her out on it. He's obviously highly intoxicated, whatever drugs, plus alcohol. And I tried to explain to her at that time, but this is probably not okay. He threatened to kill me and other people 2 days ago, and you just gave an intoxicated man a deadly weapon. Her reply, it's his, not mine. So back to her post. I'm sorry the nut jobs follow me home from city council meetings. I don't know where Deanna lives, never been to her house. And disrupt my neighborhood. But I'm not sorry for the one finger salute, and we know about that. You see where I'm going with this? It kept going and going and going and going. She won't stop. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank
You
you
guys have
for
a
your
good night. And
comments.
I'm leaving. She doesn't need a police escort out again tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, not on the agenda. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Hello, sir.
Howdy.
Good evening.
Evening.
Can we get just a name for the record?
Gary Sprague.
All right. Good evening, sir.
I'm a landlord here in Woodland for 42 years. And I had a renter that didn't pay his rent for 5 months. Finally evicted him. And then I found out that he hadn't paid his water bill in 18 months. So I had to pay $2,900 for his water bill. So I would like the city of Woodland to cut them off when they get out 2 or 3 months of not paying it.
So and we are going back to that. Our hands were somewhat tied with the whole COVID pandemic. The state came down and there were certain things that we could not do, and that was one of them.
That's
we
one of
couldn't
them.
shut off the clean running water, but we are back to, I believe we're back to what's been noticed out, that we're back to normal operating procedures with that. So that should not be.
So you'll notify them?
Yes. Well, they have been notified. We just didn't have a mechanism in place that we were able to force them to actually pay. But we're back in that process now, and folks are paying their bills.
Well, that jerk cost me $10,000.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Crazy.
Thank you, sir. And moving on to items on the agenda, Mrs. Smith, Maggie Smith. Good evening.
Good evening, city council members. This is in regards to the
Maggie,
ordinance.
would you put the microphone, please?
Thank you.
There we go.
There we go, sorry. This is in regards to the ordinance of 1550 in the 2024 budget that you'll be voting on tonight. I don't know if you guys read anything in the newspaper, but in light of the recent news article concerning the splash pad in Ridgefield that's costing their city an additional $1 million that's over budget, I'm feel concerned about this project because we're going to do that here in Woodland. And my question is, has any money been budgeted for the splash pad that we've talked about?
No.
No.
No, not at all. There's no funding mechanism for that at this time. It's just a wish list or a plan. So that will come before city council at some point for a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Jackson, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you.
That's the wrong one. Good evening, sir. I think I attached the report. Oh, I didn't. I meant to send that email, sorry. I did get your report from Chief Knorr.
Oh,
and I
wonderful.
meant to attach it to this, but we'll make sure it's attached to the next agenda for the community.
Great,
So,
thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I will keep this brief, as I know we've discussed the topic in detail. I'm here about the first ordinance on the regular agenda, specifically section 14.32.620, the section dealing with proposed change to the fire code. And I believe, I perceived anyway, that there may have been a little bit of confusion with the prior topic. And I believe that we may have a relatively simple request that would satisfy both the council intent and desire along with the wishes of Columbia River Carbonates that proposed the amendment to address their specific needs. And our request would essentially be to eliminate in that fire code section the last part after the comma and allow us to work or direct staff for a development agreement that would work with all of the land that Columbia River Carbonates has and for future development to address exactly that same thing, to say that any buildings that they have that fit that F2 and S2 category would be exempted from the sprinkler requirement and be essentially treated just under the general state fire code. I believe that would meet the intent and hopefully the desire of the council as well as the wishes of Columbia River Carbonates, preserving that for future developments for them, understanding that they do that has a relatively low hazard, and that would help us assure that it doesn't necessarily leave the door wide open for other places that may come and wish to build under those occupancy classifications that have a more hazardous operation than Columbia River Carbonates has. So that's our simple request.
With Columbia River Carbonates on the removal of that?
We've talked in generalities about it after this item failed for lack of a motion at the last meeting. We kind of found out late in the game, and I have not talked to them in the past, but we have talked to Travis, and essentially a development agreement, I believe, and Travis can correct me if I am mistaken, but could be drafted that would essentially encompass the land that they have for future developments and essentially spell out the exact same thing in here, specific to them and the developments on their property, which would suit their needs without opening the door broader for unknown things that may come in with unknown hazards down the road.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir. Dave Smith. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Dave Smith, and I got a question on the action items for tonight, where the mayor has to authorize the mayor to sign several contracts. And I was wondering, is that going to be you as our current mayor, or the new mayor coming in that has a higher percentage of support by our community?
By the third that voted, I will be signing those this evening.
I see.
Yeah. So this is finishing up the council's work that has already been done over the last few months.
There's no way to push those back.
If council wants to, they can.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Butler. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, I would like to speak to action item G, ordinance 1549 climate resiliency plan. So when this first came, it was a result of the mayor volunteering our city to be in a pilot program. And anyway, so this plan came to the Planning Commission first, and they held public hearings and meetings, workshops. There was one evening, the Department of Commerce team was on Zoom, and there were 6 of them up there answering questions and talking about all of this. So there was a good number of us in this room, and we were questioning
My grandson spoke. He had just done a report for school on climate change. He had some real good input, but it all fell on deaf ears. And so now we're here tonight, and you're going to be making a decision if you want to move forward with this. And there's 14 pages of reading, and a lot of this is redundant. We have a lot of these things already in place. Like the Department of Ecology heavily regulates to protect and conserve the ecosystems in our state. That's what this is about. The Department of Health, we know all too well, is very diligent in watching over our health issues as they come up. So we don't need that. Emergency management, this is already in place with the county. There are a few items in this climate resiliency plan that there are a few that could be fine-tuned to benefit Woodland. However, when it comes to Mother Nature, you can't control her, you can't predict her, and she will have her way. And mankind has rolled with the punches as best as possible, and I believe we can continue to do that. In this plan, it also, one of the things it requires is that we would provide air conditioning for the vulnerable, low-income seniors. So who pays for that? I mean, all through the years, when we were young, we didn't have much money, we didn't have air conditioning, but you know, you learned how to do it. And now that we do have air conditioning, I invite my seniors that live on my street when it's really hot, I say, hey, if you want to come over and cool off, there's ways that the community steps up and helps. And so it says here, though, one of the most important reasons why you should pass this is because we want to provide leadership by being an early adopter. And I'd just like to say this is not always good. Many bad ideas and programs have been launched and then scrapped, wasting a lot of taxpayer dollars. So I think this is something that could either be tabled and looked at the few items in here that are good. One is like providing an evacuation plan. I think that would be awesome for Woodland to have that, for like if neighborhoods could meet at school, local elementary schools, or it could come out in our utility bill. Like at the beach, they have the tsunami evacuation routes. So, because I talk to people over the city and they're like, I don't know where we go or what we do. So there are a few things that would be nice to address, but to have 14 pages of this, and a lot of it redundant, I don't think is what we would like. So thank you.
Thank you, and I will make a few comments that I appreciate your comments this evening. Just for the gallery and those listening at home, we have become the standard for the state for small rural communities and going through these programs. We've actually been reached out to by Cowlitz County commissioners to come up and train them staff on how to get through this program effectively for our conservative rural county. So I'm proud of the document that's before you. I think that we've gone through it. I thank you, Mrs. Butler, for your comments this evening. However, I happen to disagree with the get out in front of it early. I think that we did the right thing, and the state has recognized for that, and to include our own commissioners here in the county. So thank you. And with that, we are on to the agenda itself.
I move to approve the agenda with the exceptions of F and I, that they would be moved.
C2.
I'm sorry.
Also C. C, F.
That's
C, F, and I. C,
aren't we on the, we're not on consent, are we?
We're on the whole
C, F, and
agenda.
I.
We're on the whole agenda right
Yeah.
now.
So it'd
Oh,
be-
okay, so C out of the consent too. Yeah, all three of those.
C, F, and I to be
Second.
Move those to January, and we'll
moved to January.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a specific meeting.
the second.
The second.
And then
The second meeting or January 2nd? Sorry, Mr.
January
Hall.
2nd,
January 2nd, all right. And that was a second from Mrs. Dowdy?
Yes.
Okay. So a motion on the floor to approve the agenda with the holdover for consent item C, action item F, and action item I to the January 2nd meeting by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Councilmember Dowdy. Mrs. Hogan.
Councilmember Rounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
No.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark.
Aye.
The ayes have it 6-1. Moving on to reports of standing committees.
One more thing I'd like to table ordinance 1549, the climate I'd like to postpone discussion on that climate resiliency plan. I looked at it. and I'm a new kid on the block. I see some really good things on it, but I see some things that I kind of question and don't really know the need for.
Mr. Freimark, I'm going to stop you right there with.
I'd like to motion that to table that for the time being until a later date, when I have a better opportunity to look at it.
Okay. Motion on the floor by Mr. Freimark to table action item G at this moment. Ordinance number 1549.
I'll second it.
Moved by Councilmember Freimark, seconded by Councilmember Burke. Councilmember Freimark, now's your opportunity to make your plea.
I did look it over. It's the first time I really read it in any kind of depth. Most of it I agree with. Some of it is redundant in my estimation. I was a Boy Scout. I think last time my first meeting as a councilman, I mentioned that I was a Boy Scout. And the Boy Scout motto is being prepared. And I really believe in being prepared. I'm not sure this doesn't go a little bit overboard in some cases. And frankly, I just haven't had a chance to really understand the full consequences of it in depth. And I'd like a little bit more time to look at it and maybe even discuss it among my peers here and council members.
Councilmember Burke.
I agree the same thing.
Any further discussion on tabling action item G? Ms. Hogan, please take the roll to table action item G at this time.
Did we have a specific date for that?
Oh,
Second.
the second meeting in January?
Oh.
But we need a time.
Second January, fine with me.
Okay, second meeting in January. Second regular meeting in January, I should say. Mrs. Hogan?
Councilmember Freimark?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
No.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
No.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
Councilmember Rounds?
No.
The noes have it. Moving on to 4-3. Moving on to reports of standing committees, human resources this evening.
We did not meet today.
Okay. Looks like next meeting is going to be on the 16th at 6 p.m. Finance Committee.
Mrs. Anderson canceled our meeting, so.
She is out for a couple weeks.
Gotcha.
Okay. Next meeting will also be on the 16th. And I think Mr. Smith had the vouchers, I think.
I have them
you
now.
have them now. Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Make sure that gets passed down. Reports of City Council. Mr. Hall.
Yes, I would like to take the opportunity to wish everyone in the community Merry Christmas. Hope you all have a great holiday. And while I am on that subject, I'd like to thank you, Your Honor, for your service over the last 2 terms. Very remarkable accomplishments when we look at our infrastructure that was over 100 years old, failing in water and sewer. We've addressed those issues, made progress. I look at the professionals team that you put together, and I'm impressed. They work well together, and they work well with council. I look at the roads that have been improved in Woodland, the money that's been spent on roads, and just recently exceeds decades of what we've been able to do, and that's again a great accomplishment. Even roads that are on the schedule for this coming year, that the funding has already come in. So I look at all that. I look at the businesses that have come up around Exit 22, and one of our major retailers that is here in Woodland, thanks to your intervention. I look at all of that, and I look at the legacy that you've left, and I am really grateful to have had the chance to work with you. I am really honored, and I just want to say thank you for all that work and service. It wasn't average. Very good.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Hall. I really appreciate that. Mrs. Holland.
Okay. Ditto. But what I actually wanted to talk about was, in January, the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance will be doing some advocacy work for things that one of the previous speakers mentioned is rent stability and focusing on housing for our older folks in our community. And that's kind of my thing. And so in January, if anybody wants to hit me up, everybody's going to Olympia to talk to legislators. Secondly, the kind of an extension of that, Woodland Action Me, we're having the Woodland Action Center is going to have a open house December 28th from 5 to 7 at 736 Davidson. So if you ever wondered what goes on there and how food gets distributed or how emergency supplies help folks that are unsheltered or how the thrift store runs or the rules in place to be a volunteer, we will go over all of those things. The staff and all of the volunteers will be available to give tours and tell everybody a little bit about what goes on there. A lot of times people haven't been in a really long time and then they're surprised that it doesn't look like what they thought it would look like in there. So
I'm one of those people.
yeah, you have been there.
I was there before, and I was there after you came in and took over, and it is night and day, and it looks amazing in there.
And we just had the health department run through, and she was highly impressed, and that's always a good thing. And
I
so
think
we have a good team of people. And I always say that the only legislators, and I'm not trying to bully you guys, but the only legislators that have ever stepped foot in that building in the 7, 8 years that I've been a volunteer, myself, the mayor, Congresswoman Marie Glusenkamp Perez, Councilmember Hall. That's about it. I've never seen a county commissioner in our building. I've never seen anybody in that many years. So it would be super exciting if any of the commissioners would like to come. I guess I should invite them. But yeah, so that would be cool. It's an open invitation if y'all want to come down and kind of see what all happens there. And yeah, so those are the things I wanted to bring up. And because I know he watches these, a shout out to former council member Ben Fredericks, who I just spoke to earlier today, and I wanted to again publicly thank him for everything I learned from him when he was the chair of the finance committee, and then when he retired his seat, and then I eventually was the chair of the finance committee, and I learned so much about that from him. And I got the opportunity to kind of use that, and it was nice to talk to him again, because he's part of that old school team of what it was before you were elected, and how the meetings used to be, and I remember that, and he remembers that, and I don't think anyone else here probably does, but anyway. So there, that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Holland.
What was the
Mrs.
date
Reynolds?
again?
Oh,
For
what
the
was
open house?
The 28th, but what was the time?
5 to 7.
5 to 7 p.m.
I think it's a Friday night, I think.
It's a
when
Thursday.
we're closed. Yeah, because we're closed. Our last food distribution was last Saturday.
It's Thursday.
Oh, maybe it is.
It is a Thursday.
It's
Is
Thursday.
it?
Thursday.
Next Thursday night.
I don't know, man. I was looking at, let's see.
The 25th is a Monday, so it's definitely Thursday.
Carmen makes everything happen for me. So yeah, the 28th, whatever day the 28th is.
Next Thursday, 5 to 7.
Perfect. They tell me what time to be at places and I show up.
Sounds like me.
There you go.
Takes a team. Mrs. Rounds.
I just wanted to say that Rotary is still ringing the bell in front of Safeway, and as long as we have people that volunteer. And this week, we're doing Christmas distribution to kids and families that are in need. So I think it's over 100 kids that we're taking care of. So that happens this week also.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. And is Mrs. Swire here? Oh, she's in the back. I didn't see her. Mrs. Swire with the Chamber of Commerce this evening. Hello. Welcome.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I'm Carrie Swire, Executive Director for the Woodland Chamber of Commerce, and I'm happy to be here tonight. I won't see you all again till next year, so Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I'll first talk about our visitor center. Although we only saw around 63 tourists last month, there's kind of a reason why. There's not a whole lot going on right now. Johnston Ridge Observatory is still closed, and WSDOT has no idea when it will open. There's a lot of road work to be done. However, 7 miles short of that is the Science and Learning Center, and they have taken over the role of a visitor center there, and there's a spectacular view of the mountain there, and they really encourage people to go at least that far to see the mountain, and we've had a lot of clear days.
Is that beyond the road closure?
It's right before the road closure.
Right before the road
Yeah, it's about 7 miles shy of Johnston Ridge.
Okay.
And they're open on the weekends from 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. So if there's a clear day and you want to go see the mountain from that angle, that's an opportunity. Cedar Creek Gristmill, I don't know the last time any of us have ever been there, but we still have tourists going up there, and they are open Saturdays from 1 to 4. Self-tours, I think, all week long, but that's a place, even this time of year, we can send people up to see the beauty of that area. Ape Caves and Lava Canyon are closed, so we have, people coming through, but there's not a lot really to see. Chamber of Commerce, however, we're growing. We are up to 137 members. When I came, we were at 87 back in May, so we've grown quite a bit. And we're continuing to grow, and it's exciting. We have a lot of energy and excitement coming. We meet every Tuesday at the Oak Tree. Tomorrow is kind of a holiday party. We don't have a speaker planned, but we're going to have music and a gift exchange, and everyone is invited. You don't have to be a chamber member to come, so everyone is welcome to join us. We won't be having meetings on the 26th or the 2nd, so we're taking a little bit of a break till next year. Last Thursday, no, 2 Thursdays ago, it was last Thursday. It seems like a long time. The 16th. We had our holiday after hours at the golf course, a beautiful venue. Thank you, Lewis River Golf and your staff for hosting. It was well attended. We had a live auction and some raffles, and thank you, Keith. He was our MC and our last-minute auctioneer. We had a great time and a lot of fun. On January 20th is our annual installation banquet and award night. We will be honoring the Citizen, Employee, and Business of the Years. Tickets are on sale, so if you haven't got that information and you'd like to attend, just contact me and I'll get you the information. Other than that...
Where is it going to be?
Oh, it will be at the Oak Tree, however, not in the room we have our chamber meetings. It will be in a new area of the Oak Tree that they're opening up, and so we will have red carpet theme that night.
You brought
and
it back home.
We're bringing it back home.
All
so
right, good for you. That's awesome. Mrs. Ryan?
What's the cost of the ticket?
$60 a ticket, so a little less than last year.
Nice.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? All right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mrs. Swire. Has Miss Kelly made it home yet?
Yes. Kelly got home Sunday.
Oh,
After the Grizz won the football game and are going to the championship. So
Awesome.
go Grizz.
Go great. All right. I guess. There may be some competition with that statement. All right. Moving on to reports of city officers. I just want to recognize the Woodland Police Department for their efforts, especially Miss Donnie with Shop with a Cop this past Saturday. Wait, was it this past?
Saturdays.
2 Saturdays ago.
I think so.
I've been to a number of them over the past few weeks between this job and my other roles in life. So they did a wonderful job. I know that they were able to administer resources to well over 100 kids. I want to say pushing 200. And I think, but it's a combined effort between Richfield, the Center, Woodland, and Kalama. So hats off to them. They always put on a great event. It was very well attended. Lots of police agencies. So once again, another successful year by our police department, the efforts that they do into our community. So thank you very much for that. I've also attached a letter of support for the Southwest Washington Regional Training Academy. It's a new program that the state has come up with, and funding one in Southwest Washington will help retain officers, but then also get qualified officers through the door, which is something small cities like us struggle with, because once you hire someone, then they have to go up to Burien for a number of months and travel back and forth and be away from home. By putting these regional academies in place, the state has recognized that by doing this, it will help fill the holes and vacancies that are within especially small agencies and keep those viable candidates closer to home instead of having to leave. So that's good. So that letter of support was actually done by the Clark County mayors and the Cowlitz County mayors. Being here in Woodland, we get to be a part of both groups with Clark and Cowlitz. So that was something that we all got on board with and supported, putting that down in our area. And so that is, it looks like it's moving forward, and that is just a thank you letter that will be going out to the legislators from the city, along with the other cities in the area. And with that, Mr. Boyce.
So I'll keep it short. I know we have a long agenda. I just want to remind folks that the offices will be closed December 22nd and 25th, and remind City Council that as we discussed, your first City Council meeting will be on a Tuesday, January 2nd, and your second meeting of January will also be on a Tuesday, January 17th. So just make sure you have that on your calendars. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Boyce. And with that, we have come to consent items. Only A and B and D. A, B, and D.
Make a motion to approve consent items A, B, and D.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, second by Councilmember Dowdy. Mrs. Hogan.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
Councilmember Frymark?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
No.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
The ayes have it, 6-1. Moving on to action item E, ordinance number 1546, 2023 Development Code Amendments, final reading.
Make a motion to approve action item E.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Dowdy. Councilmember Rounds.
Well, we did hash this over and over and over, and a long time. So I think we need to go ahead and approve it. I don't think that we'd have too many problems with another company coming in, because they'd have to go through all of the bells and whistles to be able to do the same thing that Columbia River Carbonates does. So.
Councilmember Dowdy.
I agree.
Further discussion? Mr.
Did
Burke.
he pull the item off? He was talking about something that was taken off?
Not on this one. The agenda was approved with the elimination of action item F and I.
Oh, okay, because that wasn't mentioned.
E? E was not
No.
mentioned.
Okay.
No. Chief Jackson spoke to this item this evening. Further discussion? All right, seeing none, Ms. Hogan, please take the roll on action item E, ordinance number 1546.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Hall?
Aye.
Councilmember Frymark?
Aye.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
The ayes have it. I thought I heard Holland as well, and that's why I looked. I'm sorry. Said Hall, and I thought Holland, and we both went, wait, wrong voter.
In January, you won't have that problem.
Moving on to action item G, ordinance number 1549, Climate Resiliency Comp Plan Chapter, final reading.
Move to approve ordinance 1549.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Hall.
Yeah, once again, this has been through public hearings, public meetings. We've, all summer long we looked at this thing. So it's had lots of public input, and we've got a good product at the end. So I think we need to just approve it.
Councilmember Rounds.
Agreed.
Further discussion? Councilmember Dowdy.
I do have some concerns with the part where it is asking us to pay for air conditioners out of our budget. That would cost the extra expense for low income. I mean, we're in an area where air conditions aren't for, I mean, every resident in our town does not have air conditioners. So, I mean, even people who can afford it don't have air conditioners. So I think that is something that I don't necessarily think needs to be in the plan. So I would be okay if that part was removed from it. There are things that I really do like about the plan, but I think that expense being put in there when we're in an area that there are so few days, I think that is an expense that we don't need to incur as a city that's so small.
Councilmember Rouse.
I have a question. Is that just if there was a unusual heat wave, or what does that pertain to?
So, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly which one you're talking about by number, so that the audience and people at home can hear us, but if I remember correctly, that was a policy statement indicating that we would develop a cooling center, develop the idea of a cooling center with partnership, theoretically, like with the school district, for example, if there was an extreme heat event that you could go to, like the school, the commons at the high school, where the community would sponsor tables with games and entertainment for kids and something like that, an opportunity for community-wide. And I think that came out of the idea of, like, during COVID, when the school district allowed for the truckers to come to the school parking lot, create a central hub for them to get rest where they might otherwise not be welcome. So it wasn't necessarily an implication that we are going to fund, but we will work to set up and get the word out and distribute that kind of community opportunity, maybe partner with delivering citizens or seniors who might not be mobile or have mobility issues to be able to go to these cooling centers. Okay, so thank you, Donna. So she's referring to policy climate resilience 6.2, and it's in section 6. Develop a program to distribute cooling units and install heat pumps, prioritizing households with residents most vulnerable to extreme temperature events. I think in this case, it was referring to the idea that there might be grants and opportunities available for programs of this type, and that we would pursue developing a program in partnership with somebody.
Mrs. Holland?
So to piggyback what you were saying, historically, I think the city did once open up council chambers during extreme heat so that folks could come here. I don't know that many people utilize that service.
One.
Yeah, well,
When
there.
we had that 115 degree, was it?
It was years.
It was
years
before
ago.
that.
It was
Yeah.
pre-COVID. I
Okay.
believe it was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
We had one,
And I think.
but he was just here actually to visit the police department and decided to take a break.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. And then I think, I could be wrong, but I think part of, there was a program, I think Lower Columbia Cap had in the last couple of years for air conditioning. I think it was because of the extreme heat that we had the 115 days, and so many people, older folks, died in other places in the country because of extreme heat. And I think there is that thing available. And since I'm gonna have some time to look at grants like that, I will look into that for you. But I do know those kind of things are available. It's just they are usually given to agencies, not shared with Woodland, I'll say. So like if it's a Clark thing or a Cowlitz thing, they are not generally disseminated to our. So.
Mr. Burke?
This went through the planning commission, right?
It did.
And what was the vote of the planning commission on it?
They recommended, actually, I have that information in the packet from last meeting. It went forward with a recommendation of approval with minor modifications, 4-0 in support.
Did we make any minor modifications to it since it came from the planning commission?
There's some things that are crossed out.
So, yeah, so there were some things that were crossed out. Specifically, I remember that the the small-scale urban farms, their recommendation was that the city should support all farms, not just small urban farms.
Place utilities underground where possible got crossed out. Reduce energy demands by developing and implementing energy conservation measures was crossed out.
So what, if we approve this, what is that holding us to?
No, this is your goals and policy document. It has no regulatory weight to it at all. The next step would be to start incorporating these decisions or these policies into future updates of regulations.
Mr. Smith?
So with this air conditioning and heat pumps, this is developing a program of what the city can do to help.
How the city would pursue, say for example, if we could find somebody who was giving away money to buy air conditioning units, that we would have a program in our pocket so that if we could get in line, we would say, okay, this is how we would distribute it, and if they decided that we were worthy of money, that we would know what to do with that money before we got it.
Or if the city had portable units that they could allow people to use during high heat waves.
Yes.
They could set up a program for that too.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that the ordinance that we're going to vote on doesn't fund any equipment or facilities. It simply is a plan that says we would look at a problem if we had it, and this is one of the things we addressed. So it's a guide. It doesn't fund anything. So,
Mr. Frymark?
Like I said earlier, I don't thoroughly understand this. It can be quite complicated. I want assurances. I don't see the need to move on it so immediately. It gives us till 2025 to scratch out some specs. That, make some minor adjustments. I like Attorney Randolph to assure us that we're not committing to something legally that might be an undue expense to the city. Should we change our mind in the future and we realize something might not be too practical in there?
Is that a question, Mr. Frymark?
Yes,
Okay.
that is a question.
Mr. Randolph?
I will look into it.
So I'm understanding that you're not familiar with enough right now to say yay or nay on it? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm hesitant to commit the seed into some unknowns in here, and my first reading on it did raise some questions.
So if I could, I don't want to answer for the city's attorney, but this already is a part of the growth management update, and it is something that we will have to incorporate as part of the 2025 comprehensive plan update, and we will need to adopt some types of policy. It is required under the Growth Management Act. So I'm not sure exactly if you have a more specific question than that.
This is Nothing we have to do today or tomorrow, but this is an eventuality, you're saying.
That is correct. Technically, we are not required to update this until June of 2025.
And I will work with Travis to try and see what limits or what guidance we have to follow, but I just don't know it off the top of my head right now.
That worries me. I'm not a lawyer, but I got a pretty good legal mind, spent a lot of money on it. By default, I've hung around guys that I said, okay, you sure about that? And until they're sure about it, I just have reservations, that's all.
I will try and come back with something more concrete.
Further discussion? All right, seeing none. Mrs. Hogan, please take the roll on ordinance number 1549, Climate Resiliency Comp Plan Chapter, final reading.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark.
No.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
No.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-2. Moving on to action item H, authorize mayor to sign agreement with Gibbs and Olson for Reservoir Number 4, construction management and inspection services.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Holland, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Holland.
It's something you need, since we need to do this.
Councilmember Rounds.
I agree. It's something that has to be done, so we just need to get going on it.
Further discussion?
Fully agree.
Ms. Freimark? Ms. Hogan, please take the roll on action item H, authorize mayor to sign agreement with Gibbs and Olson for Reservoir Number 4, construction management and inspection services.
Councilmember Freimark.
Yay.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item J, authorize mayor to sign grant agreement from Transportation Improvement Board, or other known as TIB, accepting grant for South Peak and Overlay Project.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Dowdy, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Dowdy.
This is an awesome opportunity.
Councilmember Rounds.
I agree. We have grant funds for this, and so it's a good thing.
Further discussion? Mrs. Holland.
For anybody not able to read the thingy up there, the city's portion of this is $70,266 out of a $700,000 project. So that's pretty remarkable.
Councilmember Smith.
Ms. Coleman, is this the road that we just went out and had to do a bunch of patching for large potholes?
One of them.
One of them was large? Was there only one there?
One of the roads that we've gone out and
One of
done a
the
lot
roads.
of patching on. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And this is the third time we've applied to have this road fixed, correct?
That is correct. Third time is a charm.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith?
I know that there were some complaints about potholes on that road on Facebook, and Facebook is not a great spot to put complaints of potholes on the road. I just happened to see it, and I emailed Public Works, but I would recommend everybody in here to go on to the website and make a request if there's a large pothole versus letting it go and possibly causing damage to other people's vehicles.
Councilmember Rounds?
Or call. If they don't like using the computer or Facebook or whatever, call. It just takes picking up the phone and calling Mrs. Coleman to let them know, and then they get out there and take care of it.
Yeah, they were out there. I sent an email, and they were out there that morning to go take care of it. When I sent that email the evening of Sunday, I think it was Monday, you went out there. And it's just because I happened to see the Facebook post. But they're very responsive if people actually submit the request in. And you could even email council members. They'll forward that email over right away.
Seeing nothing else, Ms. Hogan, please take the roll on action item J, authorize the mayor to sign grant agreement for Transportation Improvement Board accepting grants for South Pekin Overlay Project.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item K, resolution number 775, Americans with Disability Act, citywide transition plan for public right-of-way beginning 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Holland, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Holland.
Again, this is something we need, and Ms. Coleman does a really good job of going around and making sure we're compliant with things like ADA. There you go.
Thank you.
I'm not very wordy tonight, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Rounds.
I agree. It's getting us ADA compliant, so.
Further discussion? Councilmember Smith.
I know we've had people come in here to talk to council about ADA stuff and sidewalks and whatnot, and I know that it's always on the mind and it's always moving forward, and this is just another aspect of it moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Burke.
Yeah, the only question I guess, why is it 2023? Is that a mistake?
No. Ms. Coleman.
Because you're adopting it tonight, so it starts in 2023, and it's a 5-year plan, so we'll be renewing it every 5 years. And we do need to adopt it this year due to the fact that I'm applying for grants, and it's mandatory to have an ADA transition plan in order to apply for grants and have it in place.
Thank you.
And we didn't have the funding before, and we finally got the funding for it, so adopt away.
Ms. Hogan, please take the roll on action item K, resolution number 775.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
I have to go aye. Aye.
Councilmember Freimark,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item L, ordinance number 1550, adopting the budget for 2024 and providing the appropriation of funds into such accounts. Final reading.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Dowdy, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Dowdy.
I think we have had a lot of meetings and special meetings on the budget that I think it is looking pretty sharp, and we can always amend in the new year, but we need to have it done before the end of the year. So.
Agreed.
Okay. Councilmember Rounds. Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hogan, will you?
I was
Mr.
gonna
Burke.
say, I don't intend on adopting it because I was totally against a couple of things, so I'll bring that up. And one is the school resource officer. If we could have the school pay half that bill, I wouldn't mind. But we gotta suck it up because they won't pay for it.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Mrs. Hogan, please take the roll on ordinance number 1550, adopting the budget for 2024 and providing the appropriations of funds into such accounts. Final reading.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Freimark,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
No.
The ayes have it 6-1. Moving on to action item M, authorize mayor to sign CWOCG, or other known as the COG. What's the TA, transportation? What's the A stand for? I can't remember. And I sit on this board.
Boy, it's an acronym.
Yeah,
I'll look at it here. I have,
the COG TA grant award.
actually, if you look at the letter that's attached, it should say what it is.
Sorry, I'm
Transportation alternatives.
Thank
Transportation
you.
alternatives. Thank
Motion
you.
to approve.
Oh, wow. For South Pekin pedestrian and bicyclist facility. Motion by Councilmember Dowdy.
Second.
Oh, moved by seconded by Councilmember, was that Freimark?
Yeah.
Yeah, by Councilmember Freimark. Councilmember Dowdy.
I think it's great that we are going to have some pedestrian and bicycle opportunities on the road that we are also going to fix.
Councilmember Frymark.
My once over on it, I don't see anything that I would even partially disagree with. That's unusual.
Further discussion?
There's a lot of kids.
Mr. Holland.
A lot of kids on that road, and that road needs it. We need all the help we can get, and it looks like it's coming. I'm excited about it. My truck will thank you.
Yes. Mrs. Holland.
This is a good opportunity that I don't think people realize the collaboration that takes place on some of these grants. And this is one of those. It's a local funding mechanism.
And it doesn't hurt that the mayor sits on the board.
Yes.
Pushing for Woodland. Yes.
So there you go. And I appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
There we go.
Thank you. Very excited about it. Anything further?
We're besties now. Just, apparently we're besties.
Tied forever.
Yes.
Tied forever. Mrs. Hogan, you please take the roll for action item M, authorize mayor to sign COG Transportation Alternative Grant Award, South Peak and Pedestrian Bicyclist Facility.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Aye.
Councilmember Frymark.
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item M, N, as in Nora, authorize mayor to sign agreement awarding reservoir number 4 construction contract with Advanced Excavating Specialists, ASE.
Make a motion to approve action item N.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Rounds.
Well, the reservoir has to be fixed, and so we just need to get this done.
Councilmember Smith.
This has been in the works a long time, and environmental, I think, is what you were saying. Ecology is saying it needs to be done.
Has to be done.
Department of Health.
Department of Health, sorry.
Department of Health, yes.
Yes. Yeah, it needs to move forward. We've talked about it at length for the last few years, so I'm ready for it to start.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Hogan, please take the roll on action item N. Authorize mayor to sign agreement awarding reservoir number 4 construction contract with Advanced Excavating Specialists.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Frymark.
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Before we close out this evening, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and just say it has been a pleasure the last 8 years. I've been at this for nearly a decade now, almost 10 years from the time that we decided that we wanted to get involved with our community, run for our first election, and then the 8 years that we've served. We've built an amazing team of individuals that sit at this table here, and I can honestly say that I'm very proud of each and every member that is no longer here and those that are still here for the work that's been completed. I will say that we definitely left it better than we found it, and excited to see Woodland grow and advance and be successful. So with that, I appreciate you. I've met some new people. They're sitting here in the audience, and we've known each other for a few years. I think the first time I met Mrs. Ream, she was screaming and yelling at me at the podium, and still doesn't agree with everything I say or do, but we've been respectful and professional, and I appreciate you, so thank you. And Ann, I think that we met about the same way. You were a little bit more subdued than Mrs. Ream, but I appreciate your I appreciate your fellowship and the opportunity that you took to come and participate in your community. So thank you very much, and everyone else that is out there. And with that, Mrs. Holland, thank you so much.
Oh.
I mean, I know this is your last meeting too. You've been at this a lot longer than I have, and you and I did not see eye to eye for a very, very long time. But I appreciate your professionalism, and I appreciate your friendship, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you.
Me
And
too.
thank you.
This is my last vouchers, my last ones.
Pay the bills. And with that, I will have you join me for this final meeting right here. And come stand with me, and we're going to close this out.
Okay.
All right. We're both leaving. Everybody else is standing. And with that, we've come to the end of our meeting.
Motion to End meeting.
Moved by Councilmember Dowdy, second by Councilmember Rounds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. I'll let you hit it. Done. Thank you, everybody. You bet. No problem. No problem. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.